Hello, good morning. Welcome to JoyNews Desk. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlimni. Coming up this morning, residents of Samaraboy expressed shock at the devastating impact of illegal mining following the community's viewing of JoyNews' Poison for Gold documentary. We have details from that collaboration between the multimedia group and the United States Agency for Global Media. Also this morning, girls face 6 times higher risk of contracting HIV/AIDS compared to their male counterparts. That's the warning from the health experts as they advocate early testing and health lifestyles to check the increasing prevalence of cases among teenagers.
The risk of adolescent girls to contract HIV is pretty much 6 times higher than the equivalent of age of the male adolescent.
Stay with us for a conversation with the National AIDS Commission. Also, Ghanaians doubt the ability of the Black Stars to end the country's 42-year-old trophy drought. More after their disappointing performance in their match with Cape Verde. We'll also touch base with Joy Sports' Muftawu Nabila, who is in Abidjan, covering the match for us. We have all of this coming up plus business shortly. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. To stay for details. JoyNews through the VOA and the United States Agency for Global Media has been engaging residents of Samaraboy in the western region on the health effects of illegal mining. Some who were watching the documentary for the first time expressed shock at the devastating impact of galamsey on public health highlighted in the JoyNews expose. Many expressed shock at the health impact of illegal mining captured in the documentary. The program marks the commencement of the Poison for Gold community tour, which is part of the US AGM media project on nature crimes in Ghana, supported by the US Department of State Bureau of Oceans and International Environmental and Scientific Affairs Office of Conservation and Water. Here's a wrap of what happened on Friday in Samaraboy.
I'm saying no more. So before saying any penny chrome hanum, so follow us at the hanum. So on an animal on to me and to follow cinema in ye.
Into the Martian Hano, and I'm in what dreamy. Nana long be a shall ama abusabaya 500. I was say a cocoa in
the Abisane say, there be a sick galamsey near Manabani and Watoy. Ye be a hey, ye Watoy and
Hi, my name is Erastus Asaridonko. This is the Poison for Gold community tour. Welcome to Samaraboy. Well, Samaraboy because we captured many of the devastation caused by irresponsible mining in this town. And this is where we found many of the illegal miners sitting directly in the Tunnel River and polluting it. We also found people who have gotten sick, and when we investigated, we found a link between their ailments and irresponsible mining.
And Mahuni, a book margin and Tiaso. It's not a Sankian, say ya at twice best a beer, Bosumi, you know, and I be there to Santa Chile. Ya Kebianca, Galamsey, shall see what Samaraboy Haron. Nothing I use to as the say any cocoa in my as the said. Nin to Missanka, a Bacosa.
Ya manum, me mania. Yamanu bebre ahun awu ni enim se saa na ma wo ya bebre nso ayale enim se saa de we na eden ekoso di si am behwe saa de we de nyame anim to nyina na me kra wura ho ti se ankwara bebre nko school galam se ni nti nya de ono wa na da ajinko bebre nso SSN galam se no kwa di so of the nnuanu ne ade na ade de o ma ho ode nya ade asa o mo nya hodom de ya adwuma.
We are all in this country. We know the powers that our traditional rulers hold. But as we speak now, because of Galamsey and its issues, the authority that they are supposed to hold has diminished.
Just edi enya ma ye makura ye nya nwo won kura no omo ye nya nyinso omo kura na nsusu so bone no e ka omo.
It's been a fantastic engagement, the first stop of the Poison for Gold community tour. Thank you very much to the Voice of America, the United States Agency for Global Media, and thank you to all the multimedia groups and the local stations. My name is Erastus Asaredonko. I report for the multimedia group. This is me signing out from Samra Boy Poison for Gold community tour. Thank you very much.
Away from Galamsey to health issues, data available to UNICEF shows that a lot more teenagers, particularly girls, are increasingly contracting HIV and AIDS infections in Western Central Africa as compared to other parts of the world. Speaking to the Global AIDS Monitoring and UN AIDS 2022 report, UNICEF Chief of Health Alexander Bone said the situation could be attributed to many factors, including a myriad of challenges confronting the sub-region. He spoke to JoyNews' Emefatiamwa Eli in an interview in Lome.
Sharing details of the data with members of the African Media Network for the Promotion of Health and Environment, REMAPSEN, at a workshop in Lome, UNICEF's Chief of Health in Africa, Alexander Boone, said despite advances in recent years, particularly in reducing HIV transmission from mother to child, attention and support for children and adolescents living with HIV remains insufficient. Alexander believes this is among the myriad of other factors aggravating the prevalence of cases, particularly among adolescent girls in Africa. He said girls are at a greater risk of contracting new infections compared to boys.
In some countries where the incidence and the prevalence of HIV is on the rise, we have noticed that unfortunately the majority of newly infected people were among adolescents and particularly adolescent girls. And as we showed it on the graphic, the risk of adolescent girls to contract HIV is pretty much 6 times higher than the equivalent of age of the male adolescent. And that is probably related to many things and many circumstances or behaviors or either social related to poverty, perhaps related to the circumstances where these adolescents live.
Also among the regional challenges compounding the threat to adolescent health include limited engagement of community health workers in HIV and AIDS service delivery, as well as low availability of adolescent and youth-friendly health services in countries recording higher figures. According to the Global AIDS Monitoring and UN AIDS 2022 estimates, West and Central Africa is one of the regions in the world where children and adolescents are most affected by HIV, putting them just behind East and Southern Africa.
We know that girls in general are much more sensitive to sexual transmitted infection, including HIV, than boys. The intergenerational sex is also one of the contributing factors. When a young adolescent or an adolescent girl gets into sexual intercourses with older men, there is a higher risk of transmission as well of sexually transmitted infections, including HIV.
According to the report, prevention of mother-to-child transmission has remained at 65% coverage on the region since 2017. 7 out of 10 children don't have access to HIV treatment in West and Central Africa. Pediatric treatment coverage is at a low 35% compared to 73% for adults. Also, there's been only 25% coverage for early childhood diagnosis, with 3 out of 10 children born to HIV-positive mothers tested before their first 2 months of life. Regarding early diagnosis of HIV in infants, Ghana is among 8 countries to achieve above regional average of 25%, well below the target of 95% in the continent. In a clarion call to action, UNICEF enjoins all and sundry to accelerate the pace towards an AIDS-free generation in West and Southern Africa. The Children-Centered Humanitarian Organization believes eradicating AIDS starts with children. Each country must do everything possible to create a world in which children and adolescents are assured of getting the support they need to fight HIV and AIDS, so we can deliver on our collective promise to enable an AIDS-free generation by 2030. Amafa Ewenam Atiamwa Ellis reports for JoyNews. Lomé.
Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission will be joining us for a conversation explaining to us what is causing the increasing numbers of infections and also why girls are at more risk than their male counterparts. We'll be having that conversation shortly. But let's stick with health, because Medical Director of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Dr. Robert Amnesia, has disclosed that though the hospital may have started operations 4 years ago without the needed seed capital, it has been able to work itself out of some of the teething challenges and is best placed to serve the people. Speaking at an award ceremony for 60 staff of the hospital and other individuals who have contributed to the positive development of the hospital since its inception, she noted that the biggest strength which the hospital is leveraging on is the quality of the equipment and staff. JoyNews' Upper West Regional correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
Though it was commissioned in August 2019, the Upper West Regional Hospital opened its doors to the public 5 clear months before they were able to have access to quality healthcare services at the facility. The hospital started with a seed capital and was therefore expected to take care of only outpatients. With the improvisation and ingenuity of the management and the zeal of the catered staff of the hospital, they held the bull by the horns, work above themselves to ensuring that the objective of the government in providing a state-of-the-art 160-bed hospital for the region and beyond is fully realized. Despite the challenges, Medical Director of the Upper West Regional Hospital, Dr. Robert Amnesia, opined that the biggest strength of the hospital is the quality equipment and the people manning them. Hence, the need to award them in order to motivate them to increase their output.
We have a lot of strengths in this hospital which we are leveraging on. And our strength is that the hospital is well equipped. It will interest you to know that we have some of the equipment in this hospital that are hard to find in other parts of the country. Everyone here is not working for free. All of us working here are paid monthly. I get monthly salary. Ever since I started working, fortunately I've been missed 1 month. But if I go beyond what I'm supposed to do for my salary, there must be a system put in place to say thank you or have a pat at your back for going the extra mile. And we think when you go the extra mile, you put a lot of smiles on the faces of people.
Our Power Soldier Minister, Dr. Hafiz Bin Sali, commended health workers in the region for their commitment to their work, attributing it to the leadership style of Dr. Damien Powiri and Dr. Robert Amnesia.
Dr. Damien took over as Regional Director of Ghana Health Service. I have seen a tremendous change in the health sector. We have seen many more people come as doctors. We have seen nurses come to the region. We have seen many midwives accept postings to the Upper West Region. And the story is not the same. different when it comes to Dr. Robert.
AFCON Director of Health Services, Dr. Damien Puiro, on his part, is optimistic that despite the initial challenges encountered, the hospital has overcome many of them and is fulfilling its mandate.
From Ghana Health Service and to also identify critical staff add to the hospital. 4 years down the line, I can only look back with pride to say that our hospital is achieving the intended purpose.
In all, 60 staff of the hospital and other individuals were honored by the hospital for significant roles played in the development of the facility. Notable among them is AFCON Minister Dr. Hafiz Bin Sali, Managing Director of Usua Ghana Limited, Alhaji Yusuf Yakubu, President of the Asokoli Traditional Area, Tobe Afede the 14th, and JoyNews, Rafik Salam. The overall winner of the awards went to a nurse at the General Surgery Ward, Regan Ajakum, Utukum, and Absonic motorbike donated by Kina Farmer. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafik Salam. Wow.
A council member of Eco-Tourism is calling for advocacy to stop the destruction of forest reserves in the country. According to Professor Erasmus Owusu, if nothing is done to stop the devastation, the country will soon be without reserves. He said this at a stakeholders conference in Tamale.
The conference brought together stakeholders involved in protected land management within the Mole ecological landscape to deliberate on the issues facing wildlife and forest reserves. Speaking at the ceremony, council member Professor Erasmus Owusu said after 1996 there hasn't been any new reserve established, yet the old ones are being destroyed.
When you look at after the forest reserves, we stopped establishing forest reserves a long time ago. And even when you look at the ones that were recently established, they were established under decrees. It's executive instruments. Rawlings goes to capital, case is presented, he said, look, let's make it a protected area. We didn't have to go through parliamentary issues, nothing, and it was established. Chabobo, they said, if it were today, it would not be there. As I speak now, we've been fighting for Atiwa Range to be converted into a national park. We fought that battle for almost 10 years. It has never come home.
The Director, Stakeholder and Ecotourism Wildlife Department, Dr. Richard Jima, highlighted some successes chalked under the Savannah Integrated Conservation Project implemented to conserve the wild.
First of all, let me just say that the project helped in supporting sustainable financing of the park through the initiative that we had, that is the craft shop was reactivated, and by that the communities living around the modern landscape were able to bring their craft materials to the shop and serve as outlets for them to sell their products and also get revenue. And so once we want to protect biodiversity, we should also get benefits from the biodiversity and also the communities around it.
A representative of the traditional rulers, Abdullahi Mono, said the advocacy is beginning to have impact on areas with wildlife and reserves.
What is going on is a good thing. All we need to do is to keep including the people. A lot of the communities are beginning to benefit. And it is clear if you go to areas like Mognori and the rest, how they used to hunt or poach in the park is reducing because the same people are almost becoming those who inform or otherwise prevent their colleagues from going because of the benefits they are getting. So the issue is just about benefit sharing. When everybody gets something, you know, our grandfathers left this thing for us. It has gotten to our time to get something from it. Somebody is coming to say that he is in charge of it. what do we get? And the issues of the topics on the creamer in particular, palm oil, are now catching up with almost every area.
We can go back to our earlier story where data available to UNICEF shows that a lot more teenagers, particularly girls, are increasingly contracting HIV and AIDS infections in West and Central Africa as compared to other parts of the world. I've been joined by the Director General of the Ghana AIDS Commission, Dr. Treme Etwahene, for more. I'm grateful for your time. First, let me ask you how you feel about this.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It is very concerning. Hello, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, very well, Dr. Etwahene.
Yes, it's very concerning issue. We know that this is the situation across the sub-Saharan African region where new infections are much higher among women and girls. And it is so because of a number of factors. But before I talk about the factors, I would like to clarify that both men and women, boys and girls, and children are all at risk of HIV, but some are at much higher risk than others. And adolescent girls and young men happen to be one of those subpopulations that have much higher risk for HIV. And there are biological, social, cultural, and behavioral factors that account for this situation. And as you are aware, the situation is not different in Ghana. We have more than 4,000 people who got infected in 2022. I mean, young people aged 16 to 24 who got infected in the year 2022 alone. And of this number, more than 80% were actually adolescent girls and young women. And so the issue is an important issue for us as the Commission, and we are doing everything to address the issue among this population.
Of course, Ghana is not it's no exception when we talk about some of these, because of course we're part of the West and Central Africa. But I want you to explain to us how females are actually 6 times at risk in contracting HIV/AIDS as compared to their male counterparts.
Yes. Again, let me clarify that HIV susceptibility changes less on a person's sex or gender than it does on how their anatomy is utilized. And so on that basis, we need to acknowledge that the biological factors are quite important when we're trying to look at the gender disparity in terms of HIV reinfection. And the first point under biological factors is the fact that receptive sex is generally riskier than insertive sex. So whether it is vaginal or anal sex, the receptive partner is more at risk to the infection than the insertive partner. And this is because they raise greater mucus area in the woman which is exposed to HIV during penile vaginal intercourse. And if there should be any breach or tear of the vaginal mucosa or anal mucosa, which is relatively thin, there definitely will be an increased risk or likelihood of HIV infection in the woman or the receptive partner if they happen to be a man. And so if this occurs, then we see that is one of the risk factors. Then if there should be untreated sexually transmitted disease, and of course in women, it takes a long time for them to see whether they have any symptoms of sexually transmitted infection. And so if it is untreated for a long time, especially the untreated ones, it increases the risk of the woman or the girl becoming infected if exposed to HIV. And besides the biological factors, we also have the sociocultural factors. And one is gender inequality, which manifests itself in many forms. And one is power relations between men and women, especially in union. And so that power relation often determines whether the woman can have protected sex or whether the woman can be supported to protect herself by the man. We also have, gender inequalities that relate to access to resources, land, and other related things. So we're looking at the economic empowerment of women, and if many women are poor, then the situation of contracting HIV becomes exacerbated because they will have to find other ways of, having income. And some tend to use their body to raise additional income for their use. And this is where we have sex work. We also have gender-based violence. We see a number of cases that come in the media in connection with sexual gender-based violence, and sometimes it's actually perpetrated by the intimate partners of these women. And all these are factors that, put women at risk of HIV infection. Child marriage is also another important factor. Widow inheritance is also another one, practice that we see in our country. And of course, access to quality health care, which usually is affected by our gender relations. In the case of the behavioral issues, the number one is having unprotected sex. And I'm happy the gentleman who you captured in your report mentioned intergenerational sex, which means older men having sex with younger women, older men who are older than the young women by between 5 to 10 years, and sometimes it goes beyond 10 years. And we see this in Ghana, which we call sugar daddy situation, and it's now no longer a sugar daddy situation alone. We also have sugar mommy situations happening in this country. Then we have multiple concurrent partnerships where an individual engages in sex with multiple partners at the same time, concurrently. And then we have serial monogamy. Some of them decide that, okay, they will want to have only one sexual partner at the time, but they keep changing partners within such intervals, and that in itself is also a risk if the sexual activity is unprotected. Sex work in all its forms is a high risk for girls and women. And unfortunately for us, we are seeing different kinds of sex work happening in Ghana. We have the street-based, the home-based, the internet-based, mobile phone-based sex work activities, happening, especially among the young people. Now they call it hookup, and it's also widespread and exposing more and more young women to HIV infection. Anal sex has become a bit fashionable in and it's also a factor, and therefore we need to look at all these issues and try to help the young people, especially young girls, adolescent girls and young women to protect themselves. And so my point mainly is that when we consider the biological factors, the socio-cultural factors, and the behavioral factors, which ones do we have control over as the people? In my view, biological factors, being the anatomy of a man or woman, is something determined by nature. And so in that respect, one can easily give an excuse that he has no control over it. But how we use the anatomy is the most important thing, as I have emphasized earlier. And therefore, we have to accept the fact that we have full control of how we use our genitalia or our anatomy. And social factors and behavioral, they are also issues that we have control over. And therefore, we encourage young women and adolescents especially to be mindful of how they use their body and the need for protection at all times by using condoms at all times that they have sex.
Dr. Chayene, this is alarming enough. What has the AIDS Commission been up to in helping to deal with this situation?
The Commission prioritizes adolescent girls and young women and their partners in our national strategy. And so we have a prevention program which is comprehensive prevention, where we have combination prevention activities which include prevention that focus on the biological factors, which would ensure that young women have access to condoms, they have access to pre-exposure prophylaxis, for example, to protect them, and that they have the information that will give them the adequate knowledge and understanding of how they can protect themselves. And also giving access to treatment. If they become infected, they have to receive antiretroviral treatment so that they can continue to have a normal life. And so we have a comprehensive program for adolescents and young women and their partners. And in terms of implementation, we are focusing on both in and out of school adolescent girls and young women to ensure that we reach out with necessary life-saving prevention, treatment, and care services for these young people all across the entire country.
I understand that you have challenges, Mr. Chayene, that is making your job a bit difficult and also reaching out to the number of people you want to. What are the challenges? Share with me.
As for challenges, there are many. We have challenges that relate to the scale of the services that we need to provide. For example, if we do not have adequate funding to provide the combination prevention services to people who need them, then it becomes a challenge. Number two is that we have, because of stigma and discrimination associated with HIV, and of course, as we are talking about young people, when it comes to HIV and reproductive health in general, there is some stigma related to young people because we expect that they should not be sexually active, and if they are sexually active and having unprotected sex, getting pregnant and also getting sexually transmitted infections like HIV and others, then we tend to stigmatize them both in the community and in the home, and also the health facility. And this is an area that we all have to work together to ensure that we do not stigmatize young people, especially in the health facilities, because that is the only place where they can find solutions to their problems. The solution in terms of the knowledge that they need to have so that they can protect themselves and have access to quality health care so that they can have improved health. We cannot deny them these things just because they are young and sexually active. And so there are actual challenges, there are many, but I would like to focus on these two.
You have said before, Dr. Echuahene, that if we are not careful, this will become a state emergency where, it will affect our human resource development. It will affect the people who are supposed to, be part of the workforce to ensure that our economy is sustained. At the state level, what do you want done?
Well, HIV is a productivity issue, and I'm happy that you have put it in the right perspective. It's a productivity issue because it affects the most economically active population. And if we do not protect if we do not reduce new infections among the economically active population, then it's going to undermine productivity in the country. And then it would also affect or negatively impact the economy in many ways. And so as a country, young people, and here I would say adolescent girls and young women are the people who have to, be trained and become leaders in industry, champions of industry. And if they are getting infected at this age, then the opportunity for these people to reach their full potential and contribute to the development of the country is going to be severely undermined. And therefore, as a country, we need to ensure that resources are made available for these people in schools, out of schools, in health facilities, in communities, and in various social gatherings, so that they will have, we can have a generation free of HIV. And these are the things the Commission is focusing on, so that we can have a generation free of HIV in the country.
What's your your advice to the general public as I leave you this morning?
My advice just to the young people is that they are internet generation, and so they do not know much about HIV. The sanctity around sex and sexual activity is something that they have not had the opportunity to know about. And so if you take a young person who is below, let's say, 20 years, may have had more sexual partners than somebody who is about 50 or 55 years. Why? Because this generation lives in different environments, and their values are different. The internet generation is deprived of a number of benefits that the older generation had. And so this is the realization every young person must acknowledge and realize that it's not everything we see on internet that is wholesome for us, that we should also experiment or practice. We should take our lives into our own hands and ensure that we live healthy lives and productive lives. And so sexual activity, getting into sexual activity at early age is very dangerous, especially for adolescent girls, because their cervix is underdeveloped and the mucosa is also very thin, unlike an adult person. And so their level of risk of infection is very, very high. And therefore, they need to be aware of this and ensure that they protect themselves. The best is not to have sex, at that early age. The best is not to have sex. But if you seek to have sex, then you have to wear condoms at all times, irrespective of whether you know the person, you love the person, you trust the person. Those issues don't matter at all. What matters is that your life is so valuable, is so important, and if you put it at risk, you will have yourself to blame.
I'm grateful for your time, Dr. Chemetra Hene. What's a word? Why the wise is enough. And that's his advice to Ghanaians this morning. Let's take a break on Joy News Desk. When we return, there is more.
Hi, good morning. Welcome to Business. My name is Darryl Kwao. Executive Chairman of the First Sky Group, Eric Sedikutoche, has underscored his company's commitment to providing the youth in Ghana with sustainable income. According to him, despite the economic challenges faced by most businesses in 2023, the company recorded unprecedented growth. He was speaking at the 21st anniversary and Thanksgiving service of the group. The First Sky Group is a Ghanaian-owned entity comprising subsidiaries with interests in hospitality, construction, insurance, banking, and other sectors with over 4,000 employees. The company, through its corporate social responsibility, has supported some kidney patients at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital with free dialysis amounting to 33 million cedis. Speaking at a Thanksgiving service, founder and executive chairman of the group, Eric Sedikutoche, said the company has been resilient despite the economic challenges in the past year.
The year 2023 was not favorable globally for business. Some business collapsed. Others saw very minimal growth. But for the mercies of God, our business was sustained and we saw unprecedented growth. God is indeed a faithful God. One who observed that for us at the First Sky Group, the critical ingredient responsible for our existence and growth has been abundance of grace and love of God, fashioning in us to break new grounds, turn fallow fields into profitable experience, and lead the corporate entrepreneurial narrative in job and the wealth creation through employment, innovative solutions, and hard work. Mr. Chairman, 2024 is an interesting year for us as Ghanaians, both within the country and the diaspora. We acknowledge the simple reason we will be going to the polls in December for our general election. Let us, with resolute energies, firm efforts, fortitude, and purpose, preserve our collective peace.
Chairman of the occasion, Reverend Dr. Stephen Yenisom Wengam, commended the group for its resolve to maintain its employees and provide a lot of youth with jobs even in difficult times.
And in an era when many companies are folding up and laying off workers, because of your love for humanity, you have bent over and kept this huge number on your payroll. And I want to advise the staff of First Sky Group that it is not a right to be employed.
Now, following a further decline in headline inflation, interest rates eased again as Treasury bills auction were oversubscribed by a whopping 46.7%. That's according to the latest auction results by the Bank of Ghana. The results show that demand for the short-term instruments surged following an agreement between the country and its bilateral creditors on restructuring of external debt. Yes, Mo.
Interest rates have been falling since the last week of December 2023,
It dropped further in the last T-bills auction last Friday due to a signal of an expected improved economic environment going forward. The 91-day bill went down to 29.03% from the previous 29.19%. The 182-day bill also declined by 23 basis points to 31.51%. For the 364-day bill, it also fell to 32.08% from 32.34% the preceding week. Meanwhile, the government recorded a whopping 46.7% oversubscription of the short-term instrument to the tune of 3.86 billion cedis. 73.4% of the bids came from the 3-month bill, in which all were accepted. About 840.48 million cedis were bids tendered. The uptake was 839.32 million cedis. For the 1-year bill, all the 185.04 million cedis bids were accepted.
And that's it for this segment. The news continues after the break.
Welcome back to JoyNews. Some Ghanaians are expressing doubts about the ability of the Black Stars to end the country's 42-year-old AFCON trophy drought after the senior national team lost to Cape Verde in their first Group B match on Sunday. Many of the fans who trooped to a viewing center at Osu were optimistic the Black Stars would win their first match and bolster their chances of lifting the trophy, but they were left disappointed as Ghana lost by 2-1 goal margin. Maxwell Agbagba was there and now reports.
The excitement at the Sierra viewing center at Osu before the match. Many Ghanaians were optimistic that the Black Stars will win their first game against Cape Verde. That they believed would put them on a good path to win the trophy and end the 42-year trophy drought.
Oh, like Ghana will win. I'm a big fan of Jordan Ayew. Like I'm supporting. I just want you to score 2 goals. All right, 2 goals for Ghana.
What do you think will be the score?
That's what is going to be 2-0. Also, all the goals are going to score by Jordan Ayew.
Winning this game is Ghana winning.
Sure. Yeah, I want to win by 2 goals to 1.
2 goals
to 1.
2 goals to 1.
Sure.
For some of them, they were full of pessimism. After many years of heartbreak from the Black Stars, they have simply lost all hope.
Okay, so like as you know, Black Stars they don't have anything good to offer the country. Honestly,
they don't have anything good to
offer the country. So me personally, I'm just expecting a loss. They will lose.
Oh.
Black Stars.
So you say we are losing?
We are losing. Ghana is.
By how many goals?
By 2.
2-0 against
2-0 against Ghana.
Wait, before I go. Wait, before I go. Are you Ghanaian?
I'm a Ghanaian, fully Ghanaian.
Ghana no Jibo.
I know the back.
We are Ghanaian.
Me a Ghanaian, I be Ghanaian.
Ha. Cape Verde drew first blood in the 17th minute. The crowd was raptured into a state of excitement when Ghana equalized in the 56th minute through a goal by Alexander Jiku. But Cape Verde scored again in the 92nd minute, making it 2-1 against Ghana. The game ended and the blame game started.
So disappointed. It's very disgraceful. Playing against Cape Verde, your first match, and losing this horrible lose is so bad. It's so bad. I'm very disappointed.
I wasn't disappointed at all. I wasn't disappointed because I was expecting this. I knew this was how they were going to play. Because one, Black Stars, we don't have a formidable team. They just, if they say, they just pick up the players from anywhere they find them play football and they bring them in to come and play. No, they're not going to make any impact. They're not going to make any impact.
We can now go to Muftawu Nabila, who is pitching camp in Abidjan, monitoring the games for us. Muftawu Nabila, tell us more. First, I want you to clarify, was Ghana's coach attacked yesterday after the match? Kindly unmute for me, Muftawu.
I apologize. It was a verbal attack and not a physical attack. Many supporters were not happy with the outcome of the game against Cape Verde. And many of us already knew that the supporters were never going to be happy, considering the fact that since Chris Hughton took over the coaching job of the Black Stars, the national team has been very uninspiring. So the venom, or should I say the vitriol, which was directed at Chris Hughton, was expected. But what actually happened was that when the supporters were using words that I cannot put on air on Chris Hughton, security took them away. That was what actually transpired. Yeah.
Well, many.
In fact, even journalists wanted to go to the Black Stars dressing room. So yeah.
So many are attributing the loss to. They say that Ghana lost at the bench, and trying to explain that our selection actually wasn't good for the match. I mean, you have been there, you've seen the players and how they've prepared for the match and all of that. What would you say?
Well, coaches are paid to make decisions. When the decisions
Muftawu, I lost you.
Okay, so I was saying that coaches are hired to make decisions.
Okay.
Genius. When the decisions do not go in their favor, then we say they are technically or tactically bankrupt. I think that Chris Hughton took decisions that did not go his way. If the decisions had gone in his favor, then we would have been here having a different discussion. But the point is that many people actually believe Ghana lost the game from the bench because the team was on a certain momentum. After the equalizer that came from Alexander Djiku. But what Chris Hughton decided to do was that he lowered the tempo of the game by bringing in some fresh legs. The fresh legs would take time to warm into the tempo of the game. You could see that Joseph Spencer was having a very good day at the right flank. You could also see that Semenyo, when he came out into the left flank, was having a very good day. And then the coach finally decides that, no, let me take these players off. It wouldn't help the tempo of the whole group because the new players who will come in will take time to warm into the game. So that's why I actually believe that Chris Hughton indeed got some of his decisions wrong. But like I always say, he's paid to make decisions. When the decisions go in his favor,
Muftawu, we lost you.
I apologize for that. I was saying that Chris Hughton took decisions that did not go in his way. If they had gone in his favor, we would be here having a different conversation, saying that he's a very good coach. He made changes that impacted the game and brought us a win. This one, he made decisions that lowered the tempo of the game and has raised questions about his technical and tactical ability as the man who is in charge of the technical of the Black Stars. But the point is this: we hired Chris Hughton, decided to pay him to make decisions for us. When the decisions don't go his way, we can decide that, hey, Chris Hughton, we don't like your decisions, then leave the job. If the decision goes his way, we will praise him and say, you're a genius of a coach.
Muftawu Nabila, of course, there's a match coming up on Thursday and they are facing the giants, Egypt. What do you think? Are they prepared enough for this game?
Okay, so this one is not going to be my opinion, but the conversation I had with the players. Okay. I spoke to Jordan Ayew, I spoke to Richard Ofori, I spoke to Dennis Odoi, I spoke to Alexander Djiku. In fact, and the head coach himself, Chris Hughton, all of them in the mixed zone. Richard Ofori says, we are Ghana, we are not afraid of anyone. Jordan Ayew says, we are Ghana, we are not afraid of anyone, but we are now in a difficult situation. Djiku says we need to be aggressive enough if we want to pick points. Dennis Odoi shares the thoughts of Djiku. And Chris Hughton says that beating Egypt is not impossible.
Okay.
He just needs the right mentality.
Well,
he asks that he cannot take responsibility for individual mistakes.
Okay.
He can only take responsibility for the collective group.
Of course.
And here, he's charging the board to do the right things against Egypt.
And it's the individuals who make up the team. So definitely I will eat my fufu before watching that game. Grateful, Muftawu Nabila, for bringing us updates from Ivory Coast. And that will be it for the bulletin this morning. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com. There's more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. See you again at 12.